Part of the questions we wanted to ask was as regards rates, the legality of it.
Before any NDLEA can come to check your phone, go to your house, check your car, they have to get a warrant. And that warrant must be authorized by a judge of competent jurisdiction.
If I go to a random pharmacy right now, couldn't I get a syrup that has codeine in it?
Some of these drugs that have been abused are even prescribed drugs, which is another concern for us.
When musicians, content creators, artists say or push certain things online, are they culpable? Can the NDLEA use that as probable cause to go after them?
If you make a statement like that, for you to say you've spent about 340 million in a period of 6 years for just one dealer, that means the person dealing or selling to you might be a trafficker. You know, in Nigeria, is it the animal farm? Jojo will say that all animals are equal, but some more equal than others.
Stanley Alieke is a legal practitioner and the principal partner at Law Capital. On this episode of Beyond Addiction podcast, he breaks down the rights of individuals under Nigeria's drug laws, explaining how NDLEA and the police operate, workplace drug policies, and what every Nigerian needs to know when dealing with drug-related enforcement situations. Welcome once again to another edition of Beyond Addiction. As always, we're here to tackle issues relating to tackling addiction, going beyond it, as the name implies, and also to see other aspects that may deal with addiction that people don't talk about, such as today's topic. I am Amadin Ogbewe. Now, we want to talk today about your rights under the law as regards drug laws and what they really mean for the average person, the NDLEA enforcement and all of that. And again, understanding your basic rights. And no one is better to explain this than Stan Alieke Esquire. He is a lawyer and is very well known for explaining things, legal things in simple terms. So we hope that's what we get today. And as always, my co-host is here with me, Dr. Omeiza of the GADA. Welcome to the program.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. All right. So before we go into any questions, I just want to kick off on a note here. So while we were preparing for this episode, part of the questions we wanted to ask was as regards rates, the legality of it and all of that. And there's a particular phrase that we hear a lot or that I've been told about. And then just before you came in, a video started trending on that matter. So let's take a look at that video. And I'd like to get your thoughts on that. This is an alleged NDLEA officer.
Are you allowed to check gallery? Are you allowed to check our phones? Am I a police? Do you think I'm a police?
I don't think you're a policeman. You're
not a police. Yes, man.
Are you allowed to check?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, allowed.
Okay.
Check anything. Even to enter your house, any house ever, I can enter your house without any warrant. You understand? Wallah, my ID card permits me to enter your house.
When I see you using phone to do something, am I allowed to check?
So there is, my ID card is my warrant. I'd like to get your response to that, the veracity of it. He said I can enter your house anyhow. If you notice, the part of the reason we're doing this is the question that the person recording asks first: are you allowed to check my phone? Are you allowed to check my gallery? He said yes, and then he went as far as saying, can enter your house with my ID card. So what does the law say?
Oh, that's not true. That's not true. Mm-hmm. I believe the person saying this is not an elite this thing. Mm-hmm. I think even the FCC too said that their ID card is a search warrant that they can't enter anywhere. But don't forget that these people, the NDLEA, they are being empowered by the provisions of the NDLEA Act, provided in section 4, which provided for their functions and what they ought to do. But don't forget also that the NDLEA Act is under the supervision, is subjected to the Constitution. And the Constitution said in section 1 that whatever provisions of any law that is not in consonance with the Constitution is null and void. Now that's taking me to somewhere that under the Constitution, there's a provision for fundamental human right that said, okay, you have a right to this, before you have a right to privacy. Before any NDLEA can come to check your phone, go to your house, check your car, they have to get a warrant. and that warrant must be authorized by a judge of competent jurisdiction. Then an NDLEA officer tell you that they have a right to check your phone, and the rest is they're just acting under ignorance. I'm just saying this. In fact, if you have a conversation with more spiritual one, the one that have gone to school, some of them study law. They will tell you.
This one did not go to school.
Yes, they will tell you that what he's just acting under ignorance. I mean, they have a right to conduct. Maybe if they call it a reasonable suspicion. Let's say they got an intel that maybe you are driving, that you are in possession of hard drug and so on. And once that have been justified, that there's a reasonable suspicion, then they can conduct a search maybe on your vehicle and your person without a warrant. But when there's no justification for that reasonable suspicion, then they have to, even if they hear that here is being used or my office is being used to that I'm doing all this thing, they have to first of all go to court, get a search warrant, get an arrest warrant. So that's how I usually do.
Okay. So just to buttress on that, you're saying there are instances that they can.
Exceptional instances. Just exceptional instances when there is, even police, police, we always say police don't have a right to maybe arrest a person without a warrant. But there are exceptional instances. Exceptional instances in the sense that there is a reasonable suspicion that a crime is about to be committed or crime has been committed, and they have to, and time is of essence, that the time they will take going to court now to get an order, that person must have left that crime scene, and that will maybe disfigure their destiny. So that's the only exceptional instance. But
is that based on their discretion? So if they see someone driving past, maybe they've profiled him and feel, I think something.
It's not something of it. It's not a discretional something. There is a reasonable man test. Is there any intel? Okay, where did you get it from? Is it justified? Before this matters like this have gone to court. I say, okay, look, on what ground will I use my discretion? It's not subjective that you can just see, okay, you have that you look like, or your lip is black, you look like someone that smokes. Come, let me search your phone, or you look like someone that will be dealing. So there must be something. It's a scientific test. There must be something, or less that the police, the NDLEA, they are acting on travails that is above or beyond the power that has been granted to them by the act.
But I'm curious, as the person who was stopped, if someone asks me to open my phone, I mean, I know the law, according from what you said now, says I have a right to privacy.
Yes.
I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes. Okay, open your phone. I have a right to privacy. I'm not giving you my phone. What's going to? I don't know. I guess the question is, if I know my rights, how do I exercise it? Do I just tell them, I know my rights, you can't open my phone? Because this person was asking, probably he wasn't sure, which is why he was a bit questioning. But if you know and you're saying, you can't open my phone, what happens then?
Well, sometimes I believe these people, right, I've dealt with them also. So there's nothing a young guy that is facing that I don't think I'll face. I am a young guy, and I think to some extent I use some few nice cars and the rest. So even police stopping me, there's always a matter of manner of approach, right? In fact, I've not faced this thing that police will harass me and the rest. It's a matter of where you talk to person. But I used to teach some of my clients when they come to the office that a policeman will not stop me at the middle of the night and I will be emphasizing that I know my right. It's something so you have to still use a common sense. But most times the way you approach them and let them know that you don't have this right to do this thing. Most times when you tell them, okay, let me call someone, let me call my lawyer, they always have to comport because they believe, of course, they know what they're doing is wrong. So all those make him out, they are doing it outskirts of the town. I'm sure they will not want to do that inside town, claiming that I have a right to search your phone, my ID card is a warrant. It's not true. I've had this argument again with the EFCC. In fact, EFCC is more bad. They always emphasize it that when Obasanjo was pushing for the EFCC Act to be passed, he emphasized in the National Assembly that once a EFCC officer brings his ID card, is now a search warrant. It's never true. Matter have gone to court and the court said no. You have to go to court. You have to, even to the extent of EFCC freezing someone's account. They say EFCC have to go to court, not just EFCC, and get the warrant before they can do that. If not, the person can sue them and do this and get the damages against them.
Fair enough. I think that's all wants to come, but I'll just share my own experience. Maybe I'm a minority, I don't know. But every experience I've had where I've been stopped, it usually ends with them giving me life advice. They think that I'm too innocent to do anything, and they say, "Oh wow, continue like this. Be a good man." I'm like, "Okay, thank you, sir," and then I go on my way. But I know that is not the case for others who may not look like me. Maybe it's the fact I've not done dreads or something, that who knows? But I could still do that one day. Maybe I'll test that experience. Well, Dr. if you want to come in.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting conversation. I mean, having one of the best brains in the legal space to discuss the legal rights of individuals who suffer drug addiction, and of course, those who also peddle drugs. All right, so it's a two-way thing for me. So the first is, what are the legal backing for those who suffer addiction? Because I have always said that addiction is a public health concern. It's a disease. And then over the years, I mean, over a decade now, I've had conversation and engagement with the NDLEA as an organization. And I've seen a shift with that respect, where we have advocated that people who suffer an addiction should not be arrested, right, and should not be punished for using substances, but all other machineries can be deployed to arrest individuals who sell these drugs. And so the concern now is, what quantity of substance do I find with an individual, for instance, who is transiting from Lagos to Abuja, in Ore Road, and then I stop him for a search, perhaps, or the search bags and stuff, and then there are, because these guys, they don't just pick someone and start searching. Just like you said, there are signs they might see, the dark lips, or the guy is a bit out of form, compared to other passengers. And they say, "Come, where's your bag?" And they pick the person's bag, and they are seeing a sachet of tramadol in the person's bag, right? So before now, it would have been an arrest. Yeah, but I know very well, because I was part of that advocacy, that NDLEA now would refer you for assessment, psychological assessment, and even treatment, right? Now, I have got calls from officers of NDLEA who are on the road, and then they said, this mother would have to bring the son to you in Abuja when they get back, right? Which is, for me, is a progress in the right direction. Just like he said, there are some few people, who may not be that informed to carry this out as they should. I mean, well, he said they didn't go to school. That is for him. That is for my guest. Okay, so because I would have said the same thing, but my lawyer has not won any case. So except he's willing to adopt him as my lawyer.
This sounds like,
so that I can see that.
It sounds like, is this what they call indemnification? You are separating yourself from caveat. So that's
right. So what do you think about the right of an individual?
You also mentioned something about quantities. If you can clarify that.
So can you help us understand? Maybe we are not there yet. Maybe Nigerians are not fully aware that, addiction is a disease. Don't arrest the user. Treat the user. Support the user. All right. So what do you have to say?
Well, let me also place my own caveat. I never said they did not go to school. I only say probably they're ignorant of the provisions of the law. And kudos to the NDLEA. I think I've interfaced with them one time and again. I know they have departments that do desensitization and rehabilitation. I'm aware of it. I have a former staff who works with them now. So, and they actually measure these things. So they, just like you say, sometimes people have defended, have attended to clients who they are regular. I think the most recent one was it January? The guy was arrested on his way to from somewhere in around Suleja coming to Abuja. And the funny thing is, people say maybe they use jazz because most often than not, they always write. They know who to pick out. Maybe they know the science and the rest. But they have a way they measure it. There is, I think, is it kilogram or so. There's a quantity that you have, which like, okay, it's for use. There's a quantity you have, they say it's for dealing. There's a quantity you have, they say, okay, you are selling. And the higher amount is, then you are a trafficker. Those are the ones. Those ones carry like life sentence. In fact, they have amended the law now that is death penalty. I think if you're in possession of the little quantity, according to the provisions of the Indian Act, for personal use, you are not selling, you are not dealing, you are not. I think the punishment for that is 4 years with option of fine. But it depends, discretionary, because this guy that they arrested that we presented last year, because he said he would rather do this thing. One thing leading to another. I think he was given 3 months after we've pleaded with the judge and the rest that he's a first-time offender. He's just peer pressure and the rest. So he was given 3 months, and with the option of fine, I think they gave him option of 1 million naira fine and this thing with a slap on the wrist. So this was the other this thing.
Yeah, but just to continue that line of thought, is it a norm that, because what Dr. Hope is advocating for, your client now in question, does it come with shown for rehabilitation, or
yes,
you just
yes. I think they are doing that program now. They rehabilitate some of the offenders.
does the court enforce it, or it's up to maybe it's part of the stipulations to make it a slap on the wrist?
I don't think the court is the NDLEA that follows up. I think the court can only refer you to if they see that you're addicted. Said, okay, meet there's this social NGO there. Some of them went to court.
So maybe I should clarify on that. For now, NDLEA, of course, like you mentioned, there are departments.
Yes.
It was initially Drug Demand Reduction Department, DDR. Yeah, but it has divided that department to two. One for sensitization and one for rehabilitation and what have you. So they are now two. Now, so they have psychologists. Okay, in fact, NDLEA have a helpline. NDLEA, some of the commands have rehab centers in those commands, right? So, of course, it's possible that it can be filled up and there's no space, in which case they may have to, outsource to some of us, who are private. Now, so if they, get an individual with that particular substance, depending on the quantity, just like you said again, they might now refer either for treatment. They are not taking you to court. If they feel or think based on what you are in possession of, right? Yeah, you will be referred for counseling. Now, if you need to be rehabilitated, that will be advised. Okay, now, but if they also, from their assessment that you are a dealer or a trafficker, then of course the whole court processing, they may now have to defend in court that no, this quantity with me is not for use. Maybe I was collecting for some of my other friends who sent me to deal there. Whatever it is, anyways. So I think that's where we are now for the NDLEA. But I also feel that it can be better. Because addiction is not just all that there is in mental health. Recently, we've had the government talking about is it criminalizing suicide attempt? I mean, I was going to ask you when I saw that we'll be having you today.
They mean suicide. Suicide has always been a crime.
So it is supposed to be a crime.
Well, your life doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the government. So if you succeed and kill yourself, it's not a crime. But but so far, nobody have been prosecuted. I think if there must be something serious for you to attempt suicide. So most times they will rehabilitate you and the rest. But under the provisions of the criminal law, if you try to take your own life or take someone's life, it is a crime. So
it's a bit off from what we're discussing, but it's interesting because what's been done to you may even worsen your case. And if your life belongs to the government, where were they when I was hungry?
Okay, let me help you. Let me help you.
Go ahead.
I've had several patients in my facility. Yeah. I currently have a patient who had attempted suicide twice.
This is a person with substance abuse.
I'm telling you. So you see, I've had I'll tell you this story, so pathetic, really. The mom was addicted to a particular substance. I don't like mentioning names of the substance, right? An injectable. And she had attempted suicide several times by even, getting into the road, the express and all of that. But on that fateful day, unfortunately for her, she got into a well and nobody knew. So she died, right? So the daughter, married, addicted to the same substance. And she had attempted suicide before the husband brought her to our facility. This was 4 years ago. Right. Now, you see, addiction and suicide, they are not different terms. Now, so that's what I'm saying. Is it proper to have a legal framework that prosecute people who attempt suicide? If we agree that addiction is an illness, now, because of this illness, it could lead to someone attempting suicide. Now, do I prosecute the person when the person should get help or support? What do you say?
It's not. I think our law, we don't deal on what we think is proper or what is not proper. We deal with, of course, technically or morally, you shouldn't do that. I know that people get addicted or people try suicide or people try hard drugs. Some of them, maybe they are passing through something as a way out or out of depression and the rest. Of course, you cannot say, okay, someone that is done with life, you want to start prosecuting the person or stuff like that. But I think our government definitely cannot do everything. That's why there's kudos to NGOs or private people like you that have taken it upon yourself and said, okay, look, you need help, you need help. I think before, even just like we are saying, NDLEA, before is always hitting the hammer, okay, punishment. I think it was recently that they know, look, this punishment might not be it. You sending someone that is addicted to prison or to this is not the cure. Someone is addicted, they probably need help. This person, okay, why not let the person go for psychological evaluation or medical evaluation? And no, some people just as a way of some people are just peer pressure. Some people just, okay, maybe if they are taken out of that environment that they are, or maybe they have been, they lose contact with people supplying them. That's the way they can. But sometimes with the people that they actually send to jail or have give life sentence, and not all hard drugs are prohibited per se. Some can be issued to you with doctor's prescription. So where the law comes in is the abuse. Even this, I have a client now who is into pharmaceuticals. Some of all these so-called hard drugs, he have a license to import them for pharmaceutical purposes. So where the problem comes in is when you are taking it without doctor's prescription. In fact, it's provided in the law. Even in their even tramadol. I've seen cases where tramadol was prescribed to someone and so on. But if you are in possession of it without doctor's prescription, that is when the law comes in and says, okay, look, you are abusing drugs, or you are in possession of hard drug. You are, there's one they call out of, over the counter purchase and the rest. So that is how it actually works.
All right. So I would like you to clarify more on some of these laws that people might not know about, but I just want to reference something specific. I think around December 2024, you made a clear public statement that the Nigerian police has no right to arrest, detain, or prosecute anyone for drug possession. You said the authority belongs to the NDLEA. Can you walk us through that? What does the law actually say?
Well, in Nigeria, there's the law enforcement agency, and they have been stratified into they have focus and specialization. Just like the EFCC Act have given the EFCC the power. They're under the jurisdiction of detecting or prosecuting anything that have to do with economic and financial crime. Then the NDLEA Act in their provision in Section 4 have given it the power to prosecute and deal with crime that have to do with abuse of drugs, drug trafficking and the rest. So police does not have that power, right? In as much as the police under the Police Act is more like encompassing under umbrella. So what the law, what is obtainable, what the law wants is, and police do it is, if you arrest someone that is dealing, what the best thing to do is refer the person to NDLEA, who has a jurisdiction to prosecute. But the police don't have the power to bring a person to court now and prosecute the person on possession of or selling of drugs. The same thing if although I know that police have some cybercrime in it, if they arrest someone that have to do with this thing, the best thing they do is to refer the person to EFCC. So that's just the provisions.
But does that happen?
Yes,
the police even taking it as far as court prosecution
to prosecute.
Yes, someone for possession.
They will refer the person to NDLEA. That's what, and they happen. They do it time and again. Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to clarify more. There are a lot of things people don't know. I've heard of a particular aspect of the law that has to do with the landlord of a building having some level of culpability if the building is being used for trafficking of drugs or thereabouts. So are there any more of those, regular typical things that the average Nigerian might not be aware of?
No, they call it aiding and abetting, right? If your facility is being used maybe for the cultivation of, or being used, or your storage facility is being used for the storage of this thing, of course you'll be held culpable.
Even if you didn't know?
We say that ignorance of the law is an excuse, not an excuse. So even if you didn't know, is the onus is on you, the owner of as a landlord, to know what the activity that is being carried out under your facility over your listing. So, or let's say there is some instances, just like this, our client that we represented in court. He's saying that a friend just gave him a bag to help him bring to Abuja. He had no idea what is inside of it. But of course, nobody will believe that. But even if he's on you to know what is in possession, so he has aided and abetted in the trafficking of drugs. That is what is actually charged for. So outside the possession, as a landlord that owns a building, that your building is being used, or your storage facility is being used, or your land is being used to cultivate, you have aided and abetted, and you also be held culpable.
That's interesting. A lot of landlords watching this now, currently calling their tenants and going to do some checks. But there's something I also wanted us to do, to just run through some scenarios and just see, what varies. You mentioned prescription just now. And I'm wondering, is it the same in Western climes or other climes where there are certain drugs you can't even buy in the first place? But over here, if I'm not mistaken, maybe the doctor can correct me. If I go to a random pharmacy right now, couldn't I get a syrup that has codeine in it or some of these drugs over the counter without a doctor's prescription? If that is the case, is the pharmacist in contravention of the law? Am I? Who is?
Well, I believe that every licensed pharmacist or chemist knows a drug or the one that is prohibited, except all this quack, or the one that you have to buy with prescription. So any pharmacist or any chemist that wants to feign ignorance that can just do this, even as little as tramadol. I think I used to know that tramadol was not prohibited, not until recently when it was because of the abuse. So any pharmacist that even codeine, there's one that was popular. Then it's codeine Uniben. So there's one that was popular amongst. There was one that was popular amongst them. Then they call it cough syrup that contains codeine.
Yes.
I know that's the
Anything with codeine.
Yes. And I think it is being prohibited now that any pharmacist or chemist that sells it, of course, you'll be held culpable because you are assumed to know, unless you're a quack or you didn't have the license as you should.
Or you didn't go to school.
Actually, on that, there are different schedule of drugs. Okay, we have schedule 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then, of course, why we don't like to say there are hard drugs, because there are no soft drug. All drug. Drug, not drug. Right? Okay, so, and just like Barrister said, some of these drugs that have been abused are even prescribed drugs. Okay, which is another concern for us, because you're looking at the mechanism for diversion of prescription drugs into the black market or for use for other purposes, right? Now, that being said, there are some of these drugs on schedules, right, are prescribed. They have to be sold or served based on prescription. That means any chemist owner must see a doctor's prescription before issuing those drugs, so that you don't just see a client come into your shop and then you sell without a prescription. Now, because when the client buys from you, you take the prescription and keep. It's for tracking if any need arises, right? So the name of the hospital who is bringing the prescription, and then, of course, the name of the doctor is there, and then you're seeing the prescription. So that's one. Some prescription pad has provision for even the doctor's license number. Right. Now, in 2018, we had, advocated for a bill through the House Committee then on narcotics. Why? To review our scheduled drugs and then enforce what we call the triplicate prescription. In Western countries, the tramadol you mentioned will be prescribed on 3 prescription pad. But in Nigeria, it's on 1 prescription pad. All our drugs, whether it's amoxicillin, whether it's tramadol or any other substance, for prescription, they are prescribed on 1 sheet and given to the patient. In some of these countries, like I said, there's triplicate prescription that is there. And so you prescribe any of the scheduled drugs on the triplicate prescription pad. Now, the client takes these 3 pads, these 3 sheets to the pharmacist. The pharmacist keeps 1 with him, send 1 to a government regulatory body, and then send 1 to the pharmaceutical council of that country. Now, what that tells the client is 3 different organizations are checking what I am doing. Because why? A patient can come, take a prescription from a doctor, come and buy, go to another doctor, we'll call it doctor shopping, hospital shopping, give the same complaint, and take a prescription again and go to another pharmacy. So now these parts are not just kept. There's a database. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, we don't have some of these databases. We don't have records. So there's a database that will raise a red flag. This name is always stopping. Why is it always collecting morphine? Right? And then something can be done about it. Well, that bill we're trying to push didn't see the light of the day. Now, the tramadol you also mentioned that you said you've seen people prescribe. There are different doses of tramadol. Now, the max is about 200 milligram, 150, 200 milligram max. On the one you will see a doctor prescribe, the dose, the strength that will be sold in normal pharmacies, pharmaceutical stores. Now, but the ones people abuse have higher strength than what we are talking about. There are those about 400 milligrams. Those ones are not sold, are not prescribed by doctors. So, we also have to clarify on that tramadol are in different strengths, and some of the strengths are not for human use. But these are the ones that people even abuse. I had a client that reached out to me recently who said he abused minimum of 3,000 milligrams every day of tramadol. Do you understand? So you know that it would be laborious for him to be abusing the 150 milligram, 100 milligram. He will just go for the chunk, 420 8 something, and be using. So
it comes to mind. It was talked about this when I talked with Mr. Babafemi of the NDLEA. When musicians, content creators, artists, whoever they may be, say or push certain things online, are they culpable? Can the NDLEA use that as a probable cause to go after them? I'll reference one. Recently, there's a trending video of a popular Nigerian rapper saying he spends about 240 million or 340 million naira on one dealer. That's what he said.
Serious, right?
Yes, and he specifically referenced one dealer. That is to say, that money is not the total sum of money he spent acquiring substance or drugs of different kinds.
Abuja.
In Abuja area. So
in Abuja area.
that dealer is, and that dealer, he's just one customer to that dealer, by the way.
Yeah.
So that dealer is probably a conglomerate at this point. But the point I'm trying to make is, do statements like that or glorifying use of drugs, do they open you up for potential investigation or prosecution?
Of course it does. Can categorically tell you that most of these guys, they get invited after they most time they post some content. I know in Nigeria, you see the animal farm. Jojo will say that all animals are equal, but some more equal than others. So in that instance, you see some A-list artists or some artists publicly displaying smoking weeds and the rest, and nothing will be done to them. In fact, some of them will go for conferences, some of them will hang out with law enforcement agencies. But a common man, if you do it, you can do this thing. But some of them do get invited. I will present a few of them that they do get invited. Some they will say, okay, we'll make you an ambassador against against drug abuse and the rest. So if you make a statement like that, for you to say you've spent about 340 million in a period of 6 years for just one dealer, that means the person's dealing or selling to you might be a trafficker. So definitely you'll be invited to say, okay, where is the person that is supplying this and where is the
coming from?
Yes.
Yeah.
But invitation is one thing. I'm referring to them using that statement as a reason to come search your house or
that's a reasonable cause. That's a justification.
Really?
Yes, that's it. For you to publicly say that, they can launch on an investigation and do this and I say, okay, look, for someone to have, just like you said, she's not the only customer. There is a plethora of other persons that he might be selling to.
So basically, the NDLEA can come knock on his door and say,
yes,
because of that thing, so we're here to,
yes,
I mean, so deal within,
and you're still within the ambit of the law because this is a public admittance. Yes, there's a public statement and the rest. So there's no longer a suspicion at this point. Someone have already referenced you to do this thing.
What if it's within arts, music or movies or something like that? For instance, a musician, he didn't say it in an interview. He was singing and he said, there's a song that's about my dealer. I don't know if you know that song. Is somebody singing about my dealer? Does that still count?
That they also do get invited. And even even in a movie that you do something I'm using FCC now. So they have the justification. That's enough justification now for you for a law enforcement agency or even a police to go after you and say, look, you said this, you should come and clarify. Did you actually mean this? Or there is some investigating on this thing. There is a justification to this. And if you found wanting, they have every right to prosecute you on that instance. And this, yes.
Do you want to expand on what you said? Some persons are more equal, some minors are more equal. I think you had some comments about that.
This is not the right thing for a lawyer to say, but is the what we find ourselves in that even in the dispensation of justice, but is trying not to go too much philosophical, but even in dispensation of justice, right? A prosecutor can, like three of us can commit a crime. A prosecutor have the power to pick only one person and prosecute, leaving two of us. And he's still within the ambit of the law. So those are the things they said that you can maybe see some politicians who say, okay, some of them, especially maybe they've stolen money and the law enforcement agency might not decide to go after those ones. They still have the right, maybe for public interest, for whatever distance. So let's say I'm more popular now, they might decide to leave me and prosecute just you. So that's what I was trying to reference on. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than the others and the rest.
I think a good comment is about Carrie's case as well. Do you recall that?
No, I didn't expect to make mention on that and I can't make mention of it because it's still in court. Maybe it's subjudiced. Let's see what causes are over that one.
All right, okay. Should I go to the next scenario? Or you want to?
Yeah, I'm trying to also understand that because apart from NDLEA, there are other bodies that they are cost of operation. get them into spaces with drug traffickers, e.g. NAFDAC. If NAFDAC gets into or busts into a storage house, maybe they were going after expired drugs or unregistered drugs, and then now discover 100 kg worth of a particular substance, like e.g. tramadol of maybe 400 something milligram, that should not be sold to human beings. So what is the provision of the law for them? Can they prosecute?
Yeah.
Or they transfer the case to NDLEA?
No, NAFDAC, I think NAFDAC and NDLEA, that the two bodies now that the law have given power to go after this thing. But NAFDAC own role is more restrictive because they have to do with regulating for whatever human consume and the rest. But they still have you can play this enforcement role and the rest. NAFDAC have that power.
Yes. And the NAPTIP, for instance.
More than
trafficking.
NAPTIP does different thing. That's human trafficking, right? So they don't have the power to prosecute for drug trafficking. Drug trafficking is a total different thing, which falls under the provision of the NDLEA Act to do this thing. So if they said, okay, they arrested or they bust somewhere, what they call it now, a room that they are trafficking. What they do if there is an atom of crime that has to do with drug trafficking, what they don't have the power to prosecute, what they do is they refer you to this thing, they refer to NDLEA.
Yeah, but I think the reason I asked before it happens is I do believe there is an instance, this was related to substance abuse though, where an agency was prosecuting, and I heard other lawyers like yourself, I think it was Inibe FM, who said that this particular case, the person prosecuting doesn't even have the jurisdiction to do, and it was in court. So I wonder how those cases turn out. If it seems as though the prosecuting body wasn't the one meant to do it, doesn't mean when a judgment is reached, is it null? Is it void?
It's solid for appeal. They call it, we use the term in law, they call it a fruit of a poisonous tree. If a person is not just a prosecutor, let's say take the matter to court that doesn't have his jurisdiction to hear that matter.
Yes.
We can raise an appeal on it for it at any time and say, okay, look, the body that is prosecuting this thing, they are acting beyond their power. They don't have the right to do this thing. Anybody, let's say it happen instances, right? People maybe they just want to out of excitement or something, maybe out of busybody and this thing. But the lawyer, of course, is a ground for appeal or say, okay, let this matter trash out. The person prosecuting an NDLEA, for instance, now, an NDLEA officer cannot come and be prosecuting person for money laundering. You see the confusion now. Same way an EFCC officer cannot prosecute person and say, okay, bring the person to court and say, what's his offense? His offense is that we're caught him in possession of this. They don't have that jurisdiction. Neither do they have the power. So that's how it works.
All right. So if you could still go back and clarify to us some parts of the law or laws that people might not know, but that would really be important for them to know.
Well, there are, I think, the chief law that regulates drug trafficking in Nigeria is the NDLEA. Then there's India Hemp Act, and there's a Dangerous Drug Act. I think those are the three main things. I think the Dangerous Drug Act has been in operation since 1936 or so, or thereabout. But there are categories, right? Just like people that there are categories of offense. There are categories of drug that will be in your possession, and you don't we don't have to worry much about it because you might get a slap on the wrist. And there's a category of drugs. The one that is more heavier is when you're being caught with drug, trying to maybe take it outside Nigeria or bring it to Nigeria. They call it drug trafficking. Those one carry more hefty sentence. But just like what Doc was saying, most of these things, if you are being caught maybe with a minimal distance, the advocacy shouldn't be, let's take you to court, let's send you to jail, let's send you to jail. The advocacy centers, how do you give you help? Maybe desensitization, you are just a youth or a teenager, maybe youth out of youthful exuberance that want to derail. Okay, let's tell you this is wrong, this is it. Show you clear examples of people that have abused drug and this thing and where it has landed them to. And with that, I think that would be the best step. Sometimes punishment, or I think there are theories of law and punishment that said, okay, every infringement doesn't call for punishment, because as you're punishing persons, some persons you're making them more hardened. But some persons, if you are sensitizing, some are just derailing. Just like this campus court that we're talking about, some are just being influenced by friends. So if you're sending them, just imagine someone that wants to be a strong man, you arrested him and send him to jail for like 5 years.
That's strong man now.
Yes, you made him more. So you will come back and do the same thing, same issue we have with EFCC. EFCC will arrest so-called Yahoo boys, maybe send them to collect all they have, ask them to go back and this thing. What you've not done anything to them. Some of them out of anger, they will say. So I used to have a conversation with some of these guys. They will be saying, yeah, this EFCC guy, they arrested us. He's not what really do one Yahoo. The main Yahoo to recover my this thing and this thing. You see, they're giving me license. So that's the thing. So the best approach is some of these things, but there are people that they know that have been a hardened criminal drug traffickers and peddlers. Those ones, then you can punish, send to jail, you can
death sentence.
Especially those ones that are the ones that are guilty of making it so much in circulation. Those ones that are selling, those ones that are trafficking, those are the ones that deserve the hammer, not the little ones that are
the dealer of that musician. But let me one of the clarifications I wanted to make, you can help us debunk or confirm it. Now we've been talking about drugs all along, though I'm seeing if it is correct that a part of the law says that possession of smoking utensils is also a distinct punishable offense. That is, you might not be caught with the weed or the actual drug, but you were caught with crusher or you were caught with Rizla. Please tell us about that.
Yeah, that is provided in the law. If you are in possession of this, anything that could be used to maybe heal or stuff or do it, is you are culpable. Because they feel that for you to be in possession, that means in possession of all those things, that means you're actually using it for what will you be using it for?
That was just
I think that's where I had an argument with the former.
You can't have an argument with me.
I had an argument, with the former boss of NDLEA on there at some years ago, and if we criminalize the use of marijuana, I hope you all know my stand against marijuana. It shouldn't.
Well, it is criminalized.
It shouldn't. Yeah, it's bad. I mean, except of course for medical purposes that has not been legalized in Nigeria. All right. In 2019, we did a national research with that respect, and even had a conference, on legalizing marijuana.
Which one is used as anesthesia? It's not marijuana.
I'm coming. Now, barrister. So, if we do not legalize marijuana use in Nigeria, and then it is a criminal offense to be in possession of a crusher, a Rizla. Now, these materials are sold in supermarkets.
Yes, they are.
And the government is aware that they are sold in these places. I
saw those last night.
You buy it, they give you receipts.
Yes.
And then they pay tax. You pay VAT.
Yes.
Now, so after paying VAT on this particular utensils, as you said, or these tools of substances, that is criminalized. And it's also a crime for me to be in possession of those materials. But I am paying VAT on them. So shouldn't be that they are not available at all. So because why do you trick me to buying it, make it available for me, and I've paid VAT, and then you're arresting me for having it?
Well, that's actually a very solid argument. Maybe the people makers of the law did not take this into contemplation when making.
I know, but I know, sir.
So that's a different. I mean,
I thought is that the judiciary interprets the law, if I'm not mistaken. So they didn't make it.
One day, Barrister Stan may be
the devil's advocate, right? Let's say now, because what will you be doing with crusher? I'm putting in quote unquote playing the devil's advocate. That's what they could possibly have in contemplation while making that law. What will you be doing with a crusher or whatnot if you are not dealing or if you are not taking? I believe that was what they had in mind. They also use lighter or matches, but nobody will see you in position of lighter matches and prosecute you because they know that it has other uses, which could be for home use other than the crusher that once you see crusher, you already know what is being used for.
Well, like my argument is still this, all right? If it is a criminal offense, I should not be in possession of these materials. Why are they sold? Why am I able to buy them? And why am I paying VAT on them? I mean, so I think that
we take that.
I think I add something to what Dr. Hope said. There's this thing that's common in Nigerian settings. They call it agbo. Right now, some of that is usually laced with cannabis leaves sometimes, and it's sold publicly. Sometimes I've seen policemen buy it and consume it. So it still raises that conundrum of if this thing is illegal how is it able to exist in certain settings where nothing happens when it's being used?
I think that particular one, they call it that is medicinal, is herbal.
Yeah.
So since taking it, they call it herbal drug. So
The funny of the people who, let's say abuse weed, the ones who've tried to get me to abuse as well, they tell me the same thing. Look, this is not saying this one is not cocaine. It will not affect you. It's from the earth. It's God that created it. It's just leaf. So that is the argument they give me as well when they say, why don't you try it? There's nothing there at the end of the day, and I think it's a cause for concern, and for that's mostly for legislators to consider as well. Yeah.
So I don't know if Barrister Stan will be open to taking advocacy, since he has been a leading voice for the rights of celebrities who may have been arrested for drug use issues. Drug issues. I think you should consider also getting into advocacy.
Well, if you look at laws, this taking me now to the theories of laws and jurisprudence. If you look at laws are made to solve a particular problem. If you've seen what the way people abuse drugs, if you've seen the havoc it does to the society, in fact, there's what you call Dutch courage, that some criminals don't commit some crime except they've taken some things which has influenced them. They call it Dutch courage in criminal thing. But if you've seen where people smoke, you see the teenagers abusing it, you know that we even need stricter laws to regulate these things. But what we are calling for, there should be a balance. Even if you have been arrested for abusing drugs and the rest, under the Constitution, you still have your right under fundamental human right protected and should be treated as such. Exactly. So yes. So while taking advocacy or not advocacy for everyone, it's for everyone. Every person's right should be protected. But do I want there to be an enforcement of this drug law and this? Yes, 100%, because I've seen it. I've seen people. I've seen what the havoc it has caused to the society. I've seen, especially those that is making it readily available. I've seen those. If you see it, go to the East now. There's one they call crack. There's one there. You go to some parties, you see there's this one they carry in balloon, and you'll be wondering, and you see them after taking, you see them misbehaving. Some of them, maybe the developmental issues are so. Just imagine you're a parent and you see your child doing that. So that should be, those are the reasons why these laws are made. The laws are not just come up. And for them to make the law and say, okay, look, those trafficking, let it be. I think Nigeria even have a lesser sentence. I'm not up to recently. In places like Malaysia, they're taking straight to the gallows.
Yes.
They are caught with this thing to tell you we are not smarter than them. There is a reason. So there is a reason.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. In fact, as you said, we should have stricter judgments and punishment for those who traffic. Yes. But yes, for those who are hooked on this substance, those who are sick, we should consider and look at the way of help and support. Now, one other area I think you would want to do is, for those who may probably be attempting suicide, instead of criminalizing it, can you lead an advocacy perhaps as a government? Think about this law. Maybe they will hear you better than myself. So
no, why not?
We're doing it already.
Yes.
I don't know if I can quickly tell a story then. I think this question I would like to hear Dr. O's opinion first. But before that, the thing you said about laws, I might be paraphrasing some of this story, so it's not completely accurate. But at some point in time, in a certain Asian country, I think it's India, there was an issue of cobras. There were a lot of them popping up, and so the government made a law. Let's just say it's a hypothetical country, that if you could get a cobra, you get a certain amount you get remuneration for it. And what the law ended up doing, instead of reducing the cobras, was that people started rearing cobras. That is, they would get the cobras, make them grow a bunch of cobras, and then present and say, look, give me my fund. So the law was made to reduce the cobras, but it actually was increasing the population. And that's how sometimes legislation can even lead to the opposite, like you said, where somebody who is a first-time user, if they end up in a place that has stimulant men users and stimulant men sellers, it just makes the problem worse.
Even in Nigeria, despite the whole legalizations and the regulations, I think Nigeria rank one of the highest consumption when it comes to check the data. The highest the dirhams and marijuana and the rest. That's why they've given a call, right? Instead of criminalizing it, decriminalize it, but regulate it. Now, these people that can afford it, you create more money into the economy because money that you see you see that NDLEA, the confiscated drug or Indian hemp that worth billions of dollars, they burn it down. That has been some source of income or something that have people like make it, regulate it so that these people can pay tax, create jobs on it. So that has been another argument, which I strongly believe in. Let those same thing, same highness that it gives, is the same highness that something like alcohol gives. So if alcohol is legal, like make it, but let it be that it's regulated. If you are not to 18, you are not allowed. If you go to bar, you are not allowed to take it. So that would be the best approach. Instead of making it a criminal, stricto sensu, decriminalize it but regulate the consumption so that we are talking about generating more revenue for the economy.
Barrister, generating more revenue at what expense?
Well, actually, mean the opportunity cost. That's why I say if you can afford it, why not?
But I think this presupposes that weed is only used to get high.
No.
There are people who use it for their
yes.
hair. So
the people that use it for their what?
Hair.
Okay, yes. People use it for that.
To grow their hair.
And also people that use it for the health, it will be prescribed to them. I'm talking about people that are more centered on it is people that use it to get high.
Recreational.
For recreational purposes. No.
So I think Dr. wants to go the other way. Instead of legalizing weed, we should criminalize alcohol.
Oh, well, because of the alcohol you mentioned, there is the law there that you shouldn't drink if you're less than 18.
Yes,
you should not
yes.
But then less than 18 are using alcohol. And the law is also there that you should not drive upon using alcohol. People drive after using alcohol. So shouldn't the argument be...
No, there are people that are doing it that doesn't make it right. Like even road safety can prosecute you.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if we're not able to regulate, there's difference between legalization and regulation. Now, we have legalized use of alcohol. We can't regulate it, which is a fact. We have legalized, of course, prescription tramadol. We have not able to regulate it, and so it's being diverted to the black market or even other alternative uses. Now, so if you now want to legalize marijuana, won't that further overburden our regulatory bodies that are not even able to implement the provisions of policies?
So what's the argument? You shouldn't be decent. People should be hiding and taking it and use.
No. The argument, and again, I will take that from the background you mentioned earlier, which is that you have seen people suffer. You have seen, sometimes we say 14.4 million people in Nigeria, as if they are just numbers. These are 14.4 million people. Take for one person, I got a call this morning. Right? And the young man said, can you imagine a 30-year-old man? My own brother said he wants to kill me. He has been chasing me around the house with knife. He has broken about 4 cars this morning. That is one out of the 14.4 million people as of 2018. Now, if we now say, okay, legalize it, Kuma. So, what do you think it will be? Knowing that there will be problem regulation.
But also, don't you think there's also an aspect of the sweetness of the forbidden fruit here, where something that you are not allowed to do is more appealing to you than when it has become open.
Now, I wish you understand. Addiction is not something that
as a gateway,
it's not something I wake
into
up
it.
and I decide to use or not to use. No, addiction is something that I wake up, I don't want to use, but I am compelled to use. That's addiction.
Okay, so Doctor, this was where I was going before. I just want to get your opinion on this because I obviously your stance is very clear that, and it's not just your stance; it's the science. Actually, it's a public health, it's a disease, it's a condition. But what happens when a person who has substance abuse issues is getting others into it? Let's say, I think some of the dealers that we keep talking about, the popular rapper Kanye West once said, getting high off your own supply. So some of them may actually also be people who have substance abuse issues. I just want to know, how do you manage to say, okay, I mean, if they're harming themselves and they are taking it and they can't stop, you understand that is a problem. But if they are gotten to the point where they are getting others to do it, they are selling, Can we still have that level of empathy?
Those
Or how
who
do
are
you do
selling,
it? Yes.
we are clear on that. They should be prosecuted.
Even if they are substance abuse patients or victims.
If they are users,
yes.
right? Now, prosecution matters, like you said, depend on the level to which you are selling. I mean, the quantity you are costing.
So that begs the question, only those selling should be prosecuted.
That is my own.
So those buying or those using, where do they get it from?
Those using are getting from those who are selling.
Okay.
So if there's no supply,
they will use. You are sure of that?
If I use myself, if I'm the supplier and you've caught me and I'm about to be prosecuted and I say, hey, I'm a user too, do you let me go?
They'll do the assessment. And this assessment you're talking about, it's not just to how much of it are you holding at the time. There are psychological assessment tests, tools that will be used on you to even verify what you are saying. As a matter of fact, there's a field in psychology called forensic psychology, and it's one advocacy that you should have a forensic psychologist in your court for each time you are having a hearing, because I can detect if you are lying. If I'm not able to detect by that observation, I can give you some tests to balance what you are saying and say, no, there's something wrong here. Right? Now, the sellers is what we are talking about, that we should even have more laws to prosecute them.
Indeed.
But for those who are using, we should have more rehabs. We should invest in psychologists. We should invest in mental health specialties for their care.
Fair enough. I think we have pro-legalization, anti-legalization.
I don't think it's pro-legalization.
I'll keep my votes for now.
Neither here nor there. I'm just making an argument from both sides.
Fair enough. So just for the scenarios we're talking about, another one about shared spaces. We had Mr. Babafemi here, and he spoke about the popular issue that happened with the Pretty Mike's club, where they had a drug party. That was the first time I heard that phrase, actually. And I was just wondering, I'm at home. My friend Henry invites me. There's a party popping here. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. Let's go have fun. And I just went there to have fun, right? Then the NDLEA says, put up your hands, and everybody gets put out. If you've seen the visuals of them all on the floor and, having to explain themselves and all of that, what does the law say for those persons who were at that event, that shared space where the drug party was happening, but they're innocent, so to speak?
Well,
what's the law?
There's what they call sin of a crime. If you're caught in the sin of a crime, then there's a presumption that you are a partaker or you're also aiding or abetting. I think what happened in that instance, when they arrested them, I think they let some of them go that did not. I think they carried out some tests and the rest some tests. So that's what happened. They arrested all of them, and it's still within the ambit of the law because the matter went to court. I followed it up. There was a search warrant. There was an arrest warrant. In fact, I had some backyard details, but they actually let some of them go after carrying out tests. The main person they prosecuted, the matter have been struck off now. But the main person they were after is the owner of the facility, which is Pretty Mike. The rest persons, they let them go and the rest. So, but that is telling something. So if here is the scene of a crime, and of course, all of us would be held to according to the gravity that we are liable. If God forbid someone dies here, and there's what they call the principle of last seen. All of us, everybody that is last seen with the person or that is there when that thing happened, we presume to be guilty or will be held to until when there are other evidences to show that this is what happened. So at least that should be able to answer that question already.
So if you're the person, what's your in the process of being a suspect, you just defend yourself the normal way?
Just allow them to do the investigation. They allow all the veterans go. I think the next they released them. Who they took to court was Pretty Mike. So yes, that was what happened. I think a friend was also in that this thing. Just that what we did not buy, what I was particularly angry with, because I also hang out, I go for parties, is the public embarrassment and asking them to sit on the floor and then be aired on television and the rest. Because someone see your face, just imagine, I myself see myself in that situation and I sit on the floor and they see my that lawyer. So that's where we have an issue with. But if you are, of course, you understand and comply with them after they will definitely let you go and the rest.
Well, I'd just like to get your thoughts on that. As regards human rights.
Yeah.
In that scenario, can you sue? And I'm also saying this because I recall there was a guy who has become a very successful tech entrepreneur now. sometime years back, he was caught in a raid. This was an EFCC raid. And they made all of them stand and they wrote their names. If you Google EFCC raid, mention the hotel or wherever it was, his name comes up as one of those who was arrested as a suspected fraudster. And with the age we are in now, if something is attached to your name online, it's almost a forever sentence. It's going to be continuously. So in those cases, let's say you're an innocent person and you're part of this raid and you happen to be caught up in it, and this happens to you. Like I said, they were released. Fair enough. But that thing that they've suffered in the first place, do they have legal redress for it?
Of course, you can sue if you want to escalate it. The one this EFCC one is your mission is quite a separate thing because people have sued here. There's this interesting case we handled last year. The guy does photography in this Abuja. I think they arrested him somewhere in Cuba. So they arrested him amongst his friends and the rest. So they gave them all the whole board and said, okay, caught with this thing. So I think the guy said, okay, after that post was made, people stopped coming to his studio. Yes, so he started losing jobs and the rest. So he sued EFCC and the EFCC awarded damages on the ground that first thing first, there is the presumption of innocence, right? Or to the court finds someone's guilty. You as a law enforcement agency cannot give somebody or give someone that this and say, okay.
So it is illegal. That's what I'm trying to point out.
Of course,
because we see people carrying boards with their names on it.
And court have said even you posting EFCC posting that person, but the difference is it wasn't NDLEA that posted, right? I didn't see it on the NDLEA this thing. Some people, I think it's this Big Brother guy that made a video or something.
So you're talking about the party.
Yes, okay. Yeah. So if it is NDLEA that posts you or EFCC that posts you, that has not just infringed on your fundamental human right, you also your right to privacy, which the court aware that you can sue, you can go to court and enforce your right on that instant.
Fair enough.
So that's if EFCC loses the case. Or if
it's not even about a matter of losing the case or not losing. They put EFCC and police. If you are being arrested and you are not charged to court yet, and they are being given out placards to hold and they snap you and post. This is a total separate case that can.
So whether or not you are guilty,
it doesn't matter. This is
a fundamental process.
Yes, this is a matter of fundamental.
So are they aware? Did they have last news agencies?
Of course, they are. Sometimes the issue is that people they do that with, right, is most of all these young guys that always want to chicken out and the rest. Before EFCC posted this guy, I think they've gone to. So if most times is who they can play around with, of course they know all these things.
I don't think so. I beg to differ because I know about a chief officer of a particular state.
Okay.
And then EFCC keeps parading them pictures, updating the public.
This matter is in court. They've been convicted.
Yeah, they've not been convicted. They are still having hearings, bringing in witnesses here and there.
I can categorically tell you that person wants to take EFCC to court. He has a solid case. It doesn't matter if he was convicted or not. In as much as he hasn't been convicted at that point in time, that EFCC is parading him or her. Yes, he has a strong
case. The case is still in court. They are still having hearings here and there. And then you are posting consistently every week the person's picture and,
in a slightly unrelated matter as well, parades, when people are caught, no court process has occurred yet, and then there's a press conference, and how did you do it? I took the drug, I put it in my pocket, I did this and that. Is that also, because I recall this is what I see in American movies, so you can correct me if I'm wrong, when they're arresting them, they say, you have the right to remain silent. That means they can or will be used against you. Then I've also heard of when people are answering questions, they say, I'm pleading whatever because I have a right against self-incrimination.
The fifth.
Taking the fifth, yes. So, what do you say to that?
I think they have a right to parade suspect in some maybe on criminal history of it. Not like under debate.
Does it they've confessed?
Yes, there are procedures to that maybe their eyes, you blindfold them or you cover their distance and dress. But not on every instance that you can. Police, maybe, let's say, a kidnapper now or those, they have every right to do this after they have maybe make a confessional statement admitting to this, not to that, and this thing, which not under duress, maybe self this thing. So they can.
All right. So just a round of now, just for me, 21 question. The first one is on drug tests. I think Dr. can confirm the head of the NDLEA has on repeated occasions suggested drug tests or mandatory drug tests for different set of people. The other day or the other a year or 3 years ago, he mentioned for political candidates, that's candidates for election, and that was very interesting to me because some of the things we see with on our electoral space, I think it's enough to cause concern about whether test. But that being said, let's talk about the legality of it. I think even for some people, I think in MDAs, there has been some level of admittance to that let us be having this test. I want to know, for something that seems invasive, so Dr. can confirm for me, I don't think there's any drug test you can do that doesn't involve some level of invasion, even if it's your waste is still coming from your body. And I'm wondering, what's the legality behind that, especially if it's sudden and impromptu? Because, I mean, if you tell somebody I'm going to test you every 2 weeks, probably they have ways to get around that. But if it's something that comes up, hello, it's a test, what's the legality around that?
Well, I know that some private sectors, they enforce it, some companies, and people have also used the argument, but the position of the law in that have been that if you take a job in the private sector, know that this is what they do this thing, this is their, of course you shouldn't comply. In fact, not just drug, I think some do mental evaluation and medicine. I know that road safety does that too, that if road safety arrests you for any of the traffic offenses, they have it's provided that they can do if you are
drug test,
mental evaluation. So that one is part of their job and the rest. But I don't see it being invasive. If you know that let's say I have some policy in my organization, and in your employment letter I see that this is also this thing. And you've accepted, so you've
signed consent forms.
Yes, if you've consented, you've appraised on your right. So you cannot law, you will say cannot appropriate and reprobate. So
but is this something you can enforce for a subset of people like candidates? I mean, that could vary. It could be House of Rep, it could be presidents, it could be. I mean, how do you combine that?
Would they allow you to be enforced this thing?
Yeah. that's
for yes. I don't think they need mental evaluation test. That's the
what if the drug test is what if the drugs are
affecting their mental
state? Because Barry, I think you are separating drug abuse, drug addiction from mental health. All right. Yeah. The drug is anything that if you ingest into your body, it can change the functionality of your body. And your body includes your brain, including red wine, your mind. Yes, including red wine. I think that's a discussion for that day. How cardioprotective is red wine to warrant the use of alcoholic beverages?
Can you drink red wine?
Yeah, well, I won't go into that. But you see, what is the fate within the legal framework? If I get tested, I work with an organization, maybe it could be any of the MDAs or a private firm, and then I am tested for drugs and I'm positive.
Yes.
Where should I be referred to? What are my rights? It's not about whether it is right for them to do the test. I agree that should be done. No, what am I right? Where should I be referred to?
I think they don't. Those one is not just like what we were saying earlier. I think the best thing is to maybe refer the person to maybe to get help or stuff like that. But if you're using a drug in someone's facility, private distance, in fact, they have the onus is on them to refer you to NDLEA to be prosecuted. If not, they've aided and abetted.
If they are using, not. You see,
I think
we need to take you for our training.
No, making the argument. What the NDLEA provided is there is a punishment for using, there's a punishment of selling, there's a punishment for distribution, and there's a punishment for trafficking. So it still fall under that same category.
So, but even now, NDLEA treats.
Yes,
NDLEA treats.
Because based on their discretion, isn't it?
Well, they treat.
We're talking about the law now.
I'm talking about years.
And they are working on the amendment of that, actually, because the knowledge is increasing, and we are getting to know that addiction is not something somebody is really doing. It's not voluntarily doing it, so, and this could be any of us. Barrister here mentioned that he clubs.
I didn't say that.
I said party. When you party, sir, is it in your it's not club. Barrister, no worry, 2 minutes against you the cut of but Barrister, you see, you would have friends perhaps. I was going to ask you, do lawyers use drugs? But now you have friends who probably take alcohol, right? But you also know that somehow when they don't want to take, they don't want to take. They tell you it's enough. But there are people that just a sip, they are gone. The next moment is that they are home, they are showing them videos how they misbehave. You see, you understand what I'm saying? So that's a problem. It's very problematic.
So just for sake of time, just a quick one. If such a person is fired after being found. They have no rights to.
No, it can depend on the circumstances you're fired. The National Industrial Court, which happens employment relation dispute is there. Can yes, that's the industrial court.
Alright.
You can go if you think you are not properly fired. You can go there to enforce your right.
Alright. So finally, as a lawyer, is there any part of our drug laws that you might, if you had the power to, you would wish to see a bit of amendment?
Well, I think they should pay more attention to desensitization, right? Instead of sending someone to jail, you should maybe send the person to the rehabilitation center. That should be provided in our law
for users.
So okay, we go and spend these things maybe 3 months and the rest instead of the option of paying fine or option of a communal service. Should send it to all these rehabilitation centers and the rest.
All right, thank you so much for coming and explaining these things to us. Perhaps me and Dr. will still have the conversation because I'm really wondering a seller who is a valid user, what happens to him? But that's a topic for another day. Okay, that's how we round off the episode for today. Do join us again while we break down more issues across the spectrum beyond addiction. See you next time. Until then, please like, share, subscribe. It is your right to do so. Bye.